Alright, so I'm gonna apologize in advance for using the GoPro to do this, but I don't. My other camera kind of sucks right now. So yeah, I was sitting around today at the parts store, and I was on my lunch break, and I decided I would flip through this Subaru parts catalog I had gotten from the dealership, and so I just started going through it, and it's a pretty badass picture right there. Um, so yeah, I was just kind of flipping through it and looking at some of the stuff, and they don't actually list any of the prices really. So I actually called the dealer and was just giving them part numbers of stuff that I was kind of looking at, and so like this shifter bushing, which was $25.95. I don't know if you can see that. Which I was like, okay, that seems, I don't know, right to me. It seems okay to me. But I would probably get an aftermarket, like Cobb or something. But so then I flipped over to these gauge packs, which I actually have the housing to one that fits my car, my O2, right here that someone actually gave me on a trade. It's just got some little sun probe thing in it now that the guy had in it, but it's like one of the only. It's a weird gauge size, so it was whatever fit in it. I think that's oil pressure, but I wouldn't use a mechanical one of those anyways. So I have that housing, and I was just gonna kind of hollow out the circles to fit, bigger gauge, kind of like this. And not that this is actually a glow shift one I wouldn't use, but so anyway, so yeah, I called them up, and they had the one for the 2002 listed with the part number and everything. And so the housing they had going for $70, which I don't know for what it is. I mean, it's just a super. It's like a hard plastic, not anything special. And then the gauge pack, which is I'm assuming just the actual gauges in there, and the little metal housing, which I don't know if you can tell. Yeah. So this is a little metal housing back here. They want $399 for, which just seems ridiculous. So I was just kind of getting on the computer and looking at what was available, and I don't know, it's kind of just, I think everyone kind of gets on the internet and looks through a bunch of Subaru parts just to see what they want. This thing's pretty cool. The triple meter pod that has the little shade, I don't know, visor on it. I don't know what you want to call it. I was just kind of looking through, but for almost $500 probably around tax for some just mechanical boost gauge, I'm sure, volt, and then the temp, I'm sure, is a electric. But I don't know. I mean, that seems like a complete rip off to me. Here's some glow shift ones that they want $150. I actually had that housing. I didn't care for it because there's no bottom to it at all. So really, the way you mount it is just kind of janky, I think. But it comes with 3 gauges, and I'm sure there have to be certain gauges. They probably won't give you anything. But so yeah, I was just kind of flipping through. But it seems like this seems kind of $374 for a triple meter with hood carbon fiber overlay. That seems kind of. I mean, it looks nice. And it has a little clock in there too. Anyways, so yeah, so I was thinking, well, what else in here is just a complete, kind of rip off, and I can, you could get a better product for better money. And so I was flipping around, and they got these, exhausts for the newer stuff, and all this, yada yada yada. And so I was looking at this filter here, which I actually have a common filter on mine right now, but this is a drop-in paper. I mean, it's just paper. It actually says it in the description. It's paper. $89. It's not reusable or anything. I mean, I guess you could blow it out, but $89. So I got on here and looking. Look, you can get a cob, which I'm assuming is kind of like a cotton, oiled cotton sort of thing. $59. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, $30 cheaper. And there's a Perrin. Looks like it's just kind of like a foam sort of thing. That's $38. And I mean, it's just there's some other random stuff. But I mean, you're telling me that this little STI paper filter is going to be better than those as far as flow or anything really. I mean, the stock airbox from what I've heard is good till like 300 something horsepower. I don't know how correct that is, but for for the money, what could you possibly gain from that other than just the OEM kind of it says STI on it? That's I think it's a ripoff. I mean, I guess you don't have to worry about quality, but I mean, Cobb and Perrin don't make crappy parts. I mean, they make decent stuff. I've seen it firsthand. I know other people have vouched. I mean, even if you don't care for the brand that much, they don't make crappy parts. So, so then I was flipping over to the strut tower braces, of course. This rear one is like $200. It's discontinued though. So I was looking on here, and I don't know. There's this. This is like an eBay one, $52. But I mean, are you actually gonna notice a difference between that and this $215 one? They don't really look like either one would be any more, strengthening to your chassis than the other one. I mean, yeah, you got the actual Subaru brand performance part, but I mean, it's not like this one's gonna just break on you. I mean, it's just a piece of metal, really. And there's some Cusco ones. That's a good brand. 169. I mean, but are you actually gonna notice a difference between a $54 one and I think there was one that was ridiculous? You have $414 is DC. I guess it says it's titanium or something. I don't know. That looks kind of hokey to me as far as rely. I don't know. It's just 440. There's better things to spend your money on, as far as I'm concerned. One thing I do think is cool is this one right here. It says on here it's for a 98 to 01, but I think I've seen them for 02, and it's a carbon fiber strut bar, which is basically a carbon fiber version of this one. It looks like. I mean, it looks like they kind of just stole the design, but I think that's pretty cool. It actually says like Fuji Heavy Industry and stuff. And then you got this little H brace here, which I actually had an H brace that I think it was like eBay or something. It was like $20. This one they want $200 roundabout. I think they wanted a little over. Made out of aluminum. But I mean, are you really going to tell a difference between for $200? I mean, here's a bunch. Here's a Cusco one, which they're not cheap. That brand, but that one's $169. I don't. It's aluminum also. There's another one. That's a Megan one, which I think is more of a cheaper line. Here's the eBay one. This is like $40. You can get it pink for the SDI pink, I guess. But I mean, are you really going to notice a difference between that for $40 and this? You save $160, free shipping. I mean, it doesn't say SPT on it. It doesn't have these little things on there. But I mean, I never really noticed a difference putting mine on. And I'm always kind of skeptical because it's aluminum, so it's super light. And you could sit there and bend these little side pieces. I mean, you can feel flex, with your arms, really. I mean, you could. I mean, I don't buy that this is going to give you any more feel that you can, actually tell a difference than a $40 one. And I feel like there's some people that are kind of just part snobs that are going to want the Cusco one. I mean, look at that. That doesn't look any different than this. And I mean, the welds weren't, awesome, but I drove it around for like a year with that H brace on, and I mean, it didn't break, it didn't bend. I took it off and sold it to some guy for like $20, I think. I couldn't tell a difference from taking it off from any. I couldn't tell. So I don't know. I just feel like some of these guys are gonna be like, "Oh, you buy the eBay parts, you're gonna get what you pay for," and blah blah blah. It's like, but are you actually getting $200 worth of H brace? $200 for me, that's a lot of money to spend on something, and it's hard for me to justify when there's something for $40 and something for $200 that look identical. And granted, they probably did steal the design, just made a jig and started welding stuff up, but it's not. I don't think it's worth it for $200. And there's all this stuff. I didn't even price these lateral links and trailing bars and stuff like that. They look nice, but man, I bet they're up there too. I did price this transmission mount, which I might get. It's $86.95. I think it's supposed to be like a Group N sort of STI mount. And there's the part number. And I think that's probably because I actually need my training mount's just worn out. But an aftermarket one that's decent is it's around $100 anyways, for not just an OEM one, but the OEM one, some like a parts store wants $120 for some of it. Then of course there's the body panels and stuff like that, which I thought was weird that you got your underspoiler that only comes in World Rally Blue from them. You got your rear underspoiler that you can only get in Aspen White. Then you got your side underspoiler, which you can get in multiples, which I'm assuming since they have the strake, is what they call it, right there, I'm assuming the side underspoiler is just the painted side skirt. Now this next one is one that really I think is outrageous. These little fender braces, which some of you might wonder what that's actually for. If you take off your fenders, there's a little stamped steel, quote-unquote brace, which I have a picture somewhere that I took it in between my hands and twisted it, and it's just, I mean, it didn't do a damn thing, really. But these are just replacements. There's kind of billet aluminum. They got a little STI logo. $516, which is, I don't know, just seems just... I mean, really? That's just a ripoff. Mine are billet aluminum ones that I got off of Naziok, in the classified. I think I paid like $80 for them, and I was happy with them. I mean, I was like, oh, cool, I got a nice billet aluminum. I think it's the only thing on the car that's billet aluminum, and I mean, it was cool. I don't know if I couldn't tell you there was an actual difference. I feel like my dash vibrates more with it on there. The $516, let me show you what you can get for half that, which is these GT spec ones, which have multiple mounting points. That one's for a 2010. This one right here looks like it's a little better. But that would do, just looking at that, wouldn't you say that would do a million times more than just those little things? And at like half the cost, that has free shipping. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then these are what a lot of people go with. These I think they're made, I don't remember the company. This is some eBay knockoff, but TIC fender braces, I think, is what the original design of this is for. And I think they designed it so you could change it out without taking off the fender, I think. I took my fender off, it was easy. Just to let you know, it's not hard. Just did it in a parking lot behind my work. But these are made so you can take out the fender liner and the wheel, I guess. And I don't know, I just pulled up. You open the door, there's a couple bolts. behind the headlights, there's a few bolts. Unclip it from the bumper and just kind of undo, where the fender on the top, there's a few bolts where it goes through to the, like where the engine bay is. And that, it's pretty sweet. It's easy. I took some pictures. I kind of liked this spoiler, so I got a price on that too. $270. Yeah. It's just primed, so you'd have to paint it. And then I was looking at these wheels. I don't really care for that. Looks like what comes on like an Outback or something. These I thought they were cool. Just different from the regular STI BBS stuff that you see every day. And in the description it says, helps give the WRX a racier look. So anyways, but if you want to know how much that is, I'll let you take a guess. And for this kind of money, you could get just sweet, you could get, it'd be a really nice set of like really good brand, Graham lights or something that was decent. But they want either $699 a wheel. Now, granted, this is from eBay and not like an actual, Subaru parts deal, but it's just the OEM part number is what I looked up. $699 a wheel, or $2,567 for a set for some 17s. Now I understand their OE, kind of build quality, and it's like a kick in the nuts is what that is. And this one's kind of ridiculous too. These radiator hoses, they're silicone, to however many walls. And then, unlike aftermarket lookalikes, the lower hose features wire construction to prevent collapsing from negative pressure caused by water temperature change. Well, I've had my Mishimoto ones, which I will pull up. They were $114 for the pair, and I really like them. The fitment was fine. Now, I had a thicker radiator, so I actually had to trim down the top one. The bottom one fit fine, came with nice clamps. Never had a problem. It's been like 3 years. I like them, but there's Samco ones. That's a good brand for $100. Now some of the cheaper ones, I would assume the wall isn't crazy, but it wouldn't be any worse than like OEM rubber ones. But they want $439 at the dealer for these radiator hoses, silicone radiator hoses. They say STI, whatever. I found them on the internet as low as $360 for this STI brand, but $439 versus, I don't know, like $120, $130 by the time you hit shipping for some nice silicone. Nothing wrong with them hoses. That one doesn't look like, that says 2002, 2000. These are what they actually kind of look like a little more. It's kind of a crappy picture. There you go. But $105, there's no way you can tell me that these provide an extra $300 worth of anything. There's no way. Same with this little STI air duct hose. This goes between your intake manifold, your throttle body, and your intercooler on a stock car. And it's for, the only part number there is for a WRX 02 to 05. So it's an STI part that only fits a WRX, I guess, which I'm going to look up right now. We'll do intercooler here. And I'm just using Google and just typing in stuff and hitting the shopping, which I always like. It kind of shows up a bunch of different stuff. So this is actually what I bought right here a couple years ago. So this is for $102. This hose they want $89. So for $10 more, $12 more, free shipping, no tax, you get that hose that they were talking about, which is this little one right there. You get the one that goes from your bypass valve back to your turbo inlet hose. and that rear hose, which is the one that was leaking on mine. This one was oil soaked. This one was actually leaking. And you get some really nice T-bolt, like stainless T-bolt clamps for $10, $12 more. And this probably comes with some clamps, maybe, I don't know. But they're crappy worm clamps. So for $12 more, you can get something that's just infinitely better as far as what it comes with. I'm sure the quality is, I don't know, this one says, the STI one says it's silicone. This one looks like it's a thicker wall. I mean, I'm not sure. I have these Mishimoto ones, and they are very thick. I've had them on there for years. But, you know, are you going to tell me it's worth it to get that? I mean, I guess if you just want the STI logo. And then you got something like this radiator shroud. It's like a polished stainless. $72, which is, you know, kind of whatever. Let me see what this one. I actually have the Perrin one on my car now, just because. So this one's $65, and it's got a little tool tray thing. Looks like, I think this thing right here is supposed to be like some sort of tool tray. So $65. I mean, I guess it's not, you know, this one's like $12 more, or it's, you know, $7. So I have this Perrin. This one's a little different. Looks like, yeah, it looks like it's got the letters cut out. But basically this, $44. Can you tell me it's any better function? This is just, in my opinion, this is more of a dress-up item. I mean, you're just doing this for the bling-bling sort of. I mean, you're not really going to notice the difference between, you know, that and, you know, the cooling difference. You shouldn't notice the difference. I wouldn't think you would. I did that because when I tried to fix my radiator when it broke, I was trying to use JB Welding crap, and it got all over the core support, and so I was just kind of covering that up because it just was not coming off at all. Yeah, this is what I got. I've got this kind of gray one right here, which I like. I didn't pay that much for it. I think the gray is actually discontinued, but I like that kind of stealthier look. I mean, I love the flat red too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the color. I love those guys that do the color schemes. I saw a guy that did one that was he had a World Rally blue bug eye. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. And he did like neon, like fluorescent. It was all Samco colors. I think it was like a fluorescent kind of orange or yellow or green or something, which is cool. But I do like some of the color scheme ones. I'm just not into like the blue silicone green stuff. That's not my, you know, my thing. But so I'm gonna stop and then I'm gonna restart once I recharge this thing. Hold on. All right, so I kind of put down the Subaru parts book. Now I'm going to the opposite end of the spectrum from nice dealer. You know you're getting, you know, at least they're well made, even though they're overpriced. Going to the other end of the spectrum here. Bum, bum, boom. That's right, eBay. And I know everyone has probably looked on eBay at Subaru parts, at least to see what, you know, just curiosity, you know, what's there, what the prices are like. So I am going to show you what I have gotten off of eBay and tell you how I feel about some of the products. Now I'm going to go ahead and say this is the just cat back sort of section here, which was the first thing I did to my car when I first bought it, was stick a fart can on it. Which you know, I wouldn't call it ricer. I like it on Subarus and like Evos. You know, if you saw a muffler like this on a Supra, you wouldn't call it ricer. You know, you wouldn't be like, oh, that's a, you know, a stupid thing to put on a import. It's a fart can, ricer, coffee can, you know. But it is the first thing I did, and most of these are going to be knockoffs of, like, I think this is some sort of Cobb knockoff. I'm not sure what everything's like. And so I was actually at a meet talking to a guy, and I was like, "Oh, what kind of exhaust you got?" And he actually had something like this, which I think is a Cobb knockoff. Um, and I was like, "Oh, what kind of exhaust is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just an eBay exhaust." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Do you like it?" And he's like, "Yeah, sounds sounds like every other Subaru. I mean, sounds fine to me. He was like, I wanted to get a real nice exhaust, but they're $500 or $600 for some of these exhausts that are, even there's some muffler backs that are like $500 or axle backs. I'm sorry, not muffler back, axle back." And he's just like, "Well, the eBay one's this one I can afford, and it's what I like." And this is the actual one I have on my car that I bought like 4 years ago. Mirage Power, whatever. It is, it's not gonna win any awards. It sounds fine, but I think that's just because the unequal length headers and they just have that nice rumble. Anyways, I think you could probably put some real hideous crap on there, and it'd still sound good. And there's probably some part snobs out there that think this is sacrilege, but I don't make a whole lot of money. I can't afford a $600 exhaust as much as I would like one. But the one I have, which is pretty much this, I don't regret buying it. I mean, it's like what is this? $100, $124 free shipping. One thing I don't like is there's no flex section, and this is supposed to have like a donut in there, which I never got it to mate up with the stock downpipe, and I never got it to really mate up with the aftermarket one I have now, which is also an eBay one. Oh god. And you see it's just got this flat flange, and so it's just there's no flex section in it right now, which I'm going to remedy. There's an exhaust shop that's right up the street from my store, and so I'm gonna get them to, I don't know, probably cut something like right in there maybe, and make a flex, because this doesn't quite stick out. I mean, it's still like the bumper hangs over it a little bit. So I'm gonna have it stick out a little more because it's burning the bumper right now. But I'm gonna have a flex section put in. That's one thing I don't like, is there's no flex in this at all. So this is bolted flat. This is bolted flat, and there's nothing else. I mean, there's no flex between anything. And so the downpipe I have, which is, I'm pretty sure, is just this one, which is not gonna win any awards either. I think it's like $70 or something. Not catted, 3-inch bell mouth, but it's just bolted flat, and it's just some mild steel with some pretty much just spray paint on it. But one thing I don't like about this, if you're looking at some eBay downpipes for your Subaru and you're thinking about doing this, there's a section on your stock downpipe. It's a little tab that comes out kind of right about here, I think, or maybe a little further up. But it actually bolts to your transmission. And so basically, if you don't have that, you're putting a bunch of stress right where the turbo bolts up. Right there is where all your stress is going to be, because all this is just going to be supported by hangers, but your engine's sitting there moving around, and it's just probably going to crack. It hasn't cracked mine yet, but I would not be shocked. I'll just weld it back up. But you really need that little extra tab. I'm going to see if I can find one with that tab. And that is, here we go. So, let me get down to a bigger picture here. Oh, this crap. Let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. So you can see that tab that bolts to your transmission and just takes all the pressure off of that where it bolts to the turbo. And I'm not sure if it actually damages the turbo. Maybe. I'm pretty sure it's cast iron or something. It's that hot side, anyways, is pretty stout. But that is one thing I don't like. Other than that, unless you just need like a cat or something, think like what's the difference really? In my opinion, I know there's gonna be some guys. Oh, you need to buy a Cub, blah blah blah. Like there's one with a cat in it. High flow cat, $179. Has that tab. Looks like it's some sort of. It looks stainless. I'm sure it's not actually stainless. Maybe it is. I don't know. Probably some cheap stainless. It kind of makes me wonder how good that cat is for $179. I feel like that would just be how much a high flow cat would cost, anyways. But I would kind of wonder if it would pass emissions with that cat would be good enough, or actually meet any kind of emissions regulations. Doubtful. I'm sure that's not approved by whatever crap like that. One thing I don't like is these little kits that give you like everything. It seems kind of iffy. Like, what is? I guess that's supposed to be some sort of hanger or something. That's kind of cheap. And these gaskets, I will say, if you get an up pipe, which is what that is, which goes from your exhaust manifold or header up to your turbo. Mine had a cat in it, which it's a good idea to change that just to get the cat out, which I think 0203 is the only one that had that, and afterwards they decided, oh, that's not a good idea, because little pieces of the catalytic converter can come off and toast your turbo. Anyways, this little flex piece tends to break, is what I'm told. And also these gaskets, let's see, get back to it, like these gaskets that go with your up pipe are probably not good. I mean, the up pipe's essential to, if you have leaks, exhaust leaks before your turbo, you're not making power, you're not running right. So I would just say go get gaskets from the dealership. I did that because I didn't want to do it twice. Up pipe's not exactly a fun, it's nice when it's done. It's not fun while doing it, in my opinion. It took me about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and I did it from the bottom. Took it out from the bottom, which is the way some people say to do it. Anyways, go buy the factory gaskets because you don't want to redo it, and you don't want to buy a cheap up pipe and have it break and then redo it either. So that's my 2 cents. I got a pretty badass up pipe off of Craigslist, and it was like double wall. I mean, I think it had some insulate. I don't know, but it was super nice, solid construction, great looking TIG welds on there, stainless. And it catalyst. It had a little kind of velocity stack thing in it, which is great for a stock turbo. I guess it's supposed to help it build, spool faster, basically. But for anything bigger, it'd just be a restriction. It's just a TD04 right now, tiny. But I got a nice one. I didn't change into the header or anything, or the exhaust manifold. But I just didn't want to redo it. I just want to do it once and be done. Also, you have to stick a little resistor. There's 2 things in there. The one that is smaller, that's on the bottom, kind of sticking out right there, is supposed to be where your stock exhaust temperature sensor would go. And that, I think that's only on 0203s, but that's to get the temperature of the cat, and if it heats up too much, it'll, I don't know, pull time. I don't know what the computer does something to cool it back down. This other little bung right there, I guess, is for an air fuel ratio thing. I'm not really sure what that one's. I've always thought that you just stick it. It looks like this one has a bung for it, but you just stick it right in there for your air fuel. So I'm not really sure what. Maybe they want you to put your front O2 up there, move it from. That doesn't make any sense because this doesn't come with a header that doesn't have it. Anyways, you're supposed to take the connector that would connect to your stock exhaust sensor, temperature sensor, and stick a resistor in it to trick the computer into thinking that it's a certain temperature. And so you just go buy a resistor from Radio Shack and stick it in there. And I forgot. I think it makes it thinks it's like I don't remember what the temperature, 1200 degrees or I don't know, 1000. I'm not sure. I don't remember looking. It's on my computer somewhere. Whenever I hook it up to the car, it'll tell me exhaust temperature, and it never changes. But so yeah, that's my thing on the eBay exhaust bit. And I would never buy a header from eBay just because it's too, before the turbo stuff's too crucial as far as exhaust leaks and all that jazz to um, just have screw up all the time. So I'd buy a good name brand, good construction up pipe. That is one thing I did do, and I just didn't do a header at all, just because I didn't really want equal length because I like the little rumble, and unequal ones didn't really seem like it would be worth it because I have a stock turbo, so it's like I'm not really gonna get. I mean, really, unless I'm just trying to get peak horsepower or something, I just get a bigger turbo. Things I do before I got a nice header would just be a bigger turbo, a better intercooler. I get a whole better fuel set. I mean, I do a bunch of stuff before I went around to doing headers. Me personally. So this is another thing I got off of eBay when my radiator took a shit on me in Wyoming. Pardon my French. This is the actual brand CX Racing. The welds aren't awesome as far as aesthetics go, but I've had mine for 3 years in my car. It's all aluminum. There's no plastic or anything. It is a thicker core, so I had to trim my radiator hoses back a little bit because it's like twice as thick as your regular radiator. But the fans bolted on fine. The coolant reservoir bolted on fine. No leaks at all. I've never had an overheating problem. I've never even thought about an overheating problem. The coolant looks, I keep it clean and everything, keep it flushed. But, I mean, this has been nice, for $120. Yeah, there's Mishimoto ones there. I think 250, 300 maybe. Which, if you want peace of mind, just go buy that Mishimoto, radiator. But me personally, I've had this in my car for years. No leaks, no problems, no flow issues, nothing. Let me see if I can see what the Mishimoto one costs. If my internet will load. I feel like I'm on dial-up again. So, let's see. There's some cheap-ass fans and stupid crap like that. That's another CX Racing. There's kind of a no-name one that comes with some cheap hoses, look like. I'm not seeing a Mishimoto one. Oh, there we go. $285. So, for 100, almost $200 more. Not quite 200, but anyways. So, I mean, if you want the name brand thing, well, mine does not. I wish I kind of have that, the newer style has this cap on it, this extra radiator cap. There's one on the reservoir, and then there's this one. This would have been nice, or would be nice, as far as being able to flush. If you drain it all out, it'd be nice to just pour it right in there, and just, it would be kind of nice to have that. This other one did not, which is okay. Didn't bother me. It just took longer to bleed out, and I was more cautious and everything. But so yeah, name brand, $285. And next, as far as cheaper parts I've bought and what I think of them, the probably the biggest one as far here, at least here in Colorado, that you see is dun, 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 Raceland coilovers. That's right. I have actually bought these, the Ultimo version, which I'm still not sure what the actual difference is. So when I did have coilovers, this was the brand I had. So yeah, $500 new from them. I think the shipping's like $50 maybe. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. So I know people are probably getting ready to post angry comments if they haven't already. But I didn't really think they were that bad. Of course, I never had $2,000 coilovers either, and I probably never will. because I can't afford that. But the overall construction of these seemed fine as far as like adjusting them. I mean, there's a shit ton of adjustments, um, almost to a fault that someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it can get dangerous. It took me. I mean, I put these on. I put them on front first, and then I did the rears like a week later or something. So I put the fronts on, and immediately lowered the car, and it's just so low I couldn't get the jack out from under it. Which I'm just like, okay. And that was probably the most frustrating thing about my car, having it that low, was I had to roll up on wood to get a jack under it. And you're like, well, every time you change, no, I spent every day adjusting these damn things for a couple weeks. And you're like, whatever. So the first mistake I made was you have the camber adjustment on the stock spindle on the front. If you've got the little bolts with the cams on them, so you can get your camber right on the front. And so if you put them back, when you bolt these up to your spindles, if you put them back, and you don't, both sides have to be exact for these little camber adjustment things on top don't mean shit if you set your wheels, they aren't the same. So I pulled my wheels all as far out as they would come, and then tightened the bolts down where these connect to the spindle. And I pulled them as far out as they would come on both sides, and then I started using this camber adjustment to get a little. It wasn't crazy, like you couldn't look at it and be like, oh, he's got a cambered Subaru or something. People do that stupid crap. And I didn't have to roll my fenders. I didn't do it that low. But the first time I set it down after I put these on, the tire definitely hit the fender. And then another thing you have to think about is every time you change the ride height, where you adjust these little things. So every time you adjust your ride height, your toe changes. So you can't just set it. So every time you like, oh, my front's too low or too high or whatever, you're gonna have to mess your toes going out when you put these on. So if you put them on in your driveway, your alignment's just screwed. So I kind of had to eyeball it, and it actually drove. I just kind of drove around the block, and then I went and got an alignment. But then that's another thing. These guys at if you go to Firestone or Goodyear or some little tire place, you can't get on their lift, so you have to take it to someone who has a special lift. And to even fit your damn car on there. So in my opinion, as someone who daily drives their Subaru, their WRX, well, the price is, makes you kind of curious. For me, it really wasn't worth it because the ride, I mean, it handled well. I'm not sure that these were, a direct, result of that as far as, like putting these on. It's like, oh, I'm a handling wizard now. But I liked the idea of being able to adjust my camber, more camber in, more camber out. It took not very long, but your toe changed every time too with that. If you bump your camber in a whole lot, then your toe's going to be out. And then if you take your camber and you put it back out to where, your factory camber settings are supposed to be, then you're going to have too much toe in if you had it set somewhere in the middle. So then you had to change. It's just like a nightmare, but I did like the idea of being able to adjust it. And this gives you a nice way to adjust the backs too. I don't think they show a picture of it, but the back has like hollowed out kind of holes where it bolts to your spindle, so you can move that in and out. Which I think I pulled it all the way out, and that's that, because the tops on the back don't have any camber adjustment in the hats, and they say they pillow ball mounts or whatever. So the other thing is, whenever I turned my front wheels, these mounts, or the little pillow ball thing up in here that's supposed to allow you to turn your wheels, like where your stock strut tops would have bearings in there, your bearing plates to let you turn. It just popped all the time, and I thought it was the spring not being, you know, tight. I thought this was top was twisting, the bottom wasn't, sort of thing. So I'd jack it up and, you know, make sure this one was super tight and wasn't moving, and make sure this one was super tight. And, you know, no matter how I felt, you know, how tight I felt I was doing it, it just always popped. And I only had them on there for a few months, and then I took them off and sold them to put it back at factory ride height. But I don't think they were worth it. If all I guess I should say, if all you're trying to get, which they got their pictures down here, you know, their slideshow or whatever. If all you're trying to get is this stanced kind of look, which I do think looks good. I'm just gonna Google search Raceland WRX Raceland coilovers, and I guarantee you it's all pictures of just Subarus stanced, guaranteed. There's not, yeah, see these pictures. There's, go do it. Google it. There's not pictures of some dude tearing up the mountains, which is what I like to do. It's pictures of dudes sitting in parking lots on some wheels. Not saying that you can't tear up the mountains, which I did get in some trouble on these coilovers. Not because of the coilovers, I was driving way too fast. But, you know, it's for that stance, you know, that stance look, which, you know, people dig or they don't. I like the way it looks, but for me, I mean, there's no way in hell I'm gonna survive in the mountains with that. That thing would get destroyed. The bumper would be gone. Your exhaust would be probably ripped off. The wheels would be trashed probably, because those are, I mean, that's about the wall tire I had them, my wheels when I had them. But that was not, some of these holes, it's just like, I was shocked there was even a wheel still on the car when I, you know, got out and looked. But this I don't really care for that. I mean, not that it looks bad, it's just that takes the functionality of anything, you know. The only thing this is good at anymore, like after this, is just sitting in a parking lot, which is probably what he does with it. No hate, you know, I like looking at it. This one's kind of, this is that, what I was thinking about when the adjustment, when someone doesn't really, you know, those coilovers I feel like are made for someone who wants to do this to their Subaru, which you could do, you know, if you say, I don't care about the ride, I don't care about handling, which you've sacrificed at this point because your suspension geometry is just so gone at this point, it doesn't even matter. Now, I'm not sure if this guy might have bags or something, but you know, this guy is not concerned with going fast or handling or, you know, going for a nice drive in the mountains. He doesn't care about that, guaranteed. And he probably wouldn't even go there. He probably knows better at this point. This one, I mean, that looks good. Looks good. Like I said, everything else is just gone. You sacrificed everything. This is probably about what mine was as far as ride height. I'll have some pictures I'll put in. But, you know, it wasn't low. It wasn't low enough to where my wheels didn't stick out that far. But it wasn't low enough to where I had to. Looks like he's got some pulled and rolled fenders. But mine, I didn't have to really roll them. That was my next step, but I didn't have to. That's what some of these guys are going to have to do. But, you know, so, oh, here you go. Here's a fun picture. Raceland coilover review. Yeah, that looks like catastrophic failure to me. Anyways, those don't really look like Racelands to me. These little teeth right here look different. Anyways, so that's my 2 cents on as far as, you know, eBay parts. What I think of this stuff. I don't regret doing this stuff. I mean, it's cheap. It is cheap for someone that's like on a mega budget like I am, or not mega, like very minor budget. I do not have a whole lot of extra money, so every little bit that I can get cheaper counts. and I'm not trying to win beauty contests. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not. I don't think you would notice a horsepower difference between, you know, this cat back and like you know, a cob as far as like seat of your pants feel, you know, your butt dyno, if you will. There's no way you'd notice um, a difference between this sound and a sound from, you know, your HKS or whatever. You maybe a different, maybe a little bit different as far as like the drone or something, which this does have a little resonator. This it does. Yeah, I'm not sure if that actually makes a damn bit of difference, but it does have it. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you sit there and listen to me rant, um, but if you're, you know, if you're just wanna just kind of stick something on there and you don't have the money, I don't think it's gonna destroy your, you know, reputation. I go to tons of Subaru meets all the time, and no one's ever like, "Oh man, is that an eBay? That's an eBay catback, isn't it? Well, you can't park with us." Like, no one cares. It's just nice to have other Subaru guys to talk to. But that's my 2 cents. I would love to hear what you guys think. And that being said, I do have a lot of stuff that's not off of eBay, which I will maybe cover in a later video.